What were some wild things you saw happen at Olive Garden or another restaurant with an all-you-can-eat deal? Oh, this is something I can actually answer. I was working a lunch shift and had a table of 3 come in, all mid-30s women. I bought the initial bread basket out, turned around, and they were gone. Okay, y'all were hungry, that's normal. Bought a new basket out and it happened again. Kept bringing baskets of bread, had to be 7 or 8. At this point, we're talking about 30 breadsticks, and the food hasn't even hit the table yet. I start watching, and they're putting the bread in their purses, just filling them up. Manager asks them politely to stop, and that was that. They weren't thrilled. Wasn't putting breadsticks in your purse a meme at some point? I've never understood why a purse. So I'm a dude, and I don't own one, nor have I ever looked up how much money they are. But aren't purses super expensive? Like, I get you can put a bag in there, but if that bag fails, you'll have a greasy, cheesy, garlicky mess in your purse. Are those maybe $6 worth of breadsticks really worth it? Don't get me wrong, I love Olive Garden breadsticks, but still, man. I was a waiter. I had a couple of middle-aged ladies there from lunch until early dinner, roughly between 1 and 6 p.m., with the unlimited soup and salad, water to drink, of course. Manager said something to the effect of, if they want to sit there that long, let them. After lunch, I gave the table to the waitress relieving me. I told her to keep the tip. We both knew they weren't going to tip. The thing I found amazing was their casual, marathon-style conversation. Slow, steady, long pauses, and comfortable silences. They both knew what they were doing. When I left around 3 or 4, they weren't even winded. I worked at Olive Garden years ago. Not entirely related, but I had a middle-aged, overweight woman always order a pint of Alfredo sauce as soon as she sat down. They sell it in quantities like that for takeout orders, and she would slop it down with about 6 breadsticks before she ordered appetizers. We're talking 2,000 plus calories before appetizers and dinner. I still remember her ordering, and her mouth opening and closing like a gooey, heavy cream sarlacc pit. You have just ruined Alfredo sauce for me. I'm hungover. This just made me gag. Ugh. Used to rent a room from someone who ordered a never-ending pasta pass, and they were accidentally sent too. Rent paid for itself that month. How much is a pass? If I remember correctly, it was $100. A couple of months ago, there was a couple who would come in literally every night and eat dinner. I was still new to that Olive Garden location, so I didn't really know who they were, and I thought they were some rich college kids who blew their parents' money on average pasta. I asked around, and apparently they had a pass. It explained the frequency, but I still can't fathom how anyone wants to eat Olive Garden that much, even if it's basically free. Note that when I said literally, I meant literally. Every single night they came in and got food for at least a month. Oh, the person who wrote that last part lived a very different poor student life to the one I did, if they even lived one at all. Compared to my 2 portions of porridge a day that I had in my dorms, if I had free food at a restaurant for a month, I would be in one of these stories. I saw her stealing the breadsticks, putting them in her big purse when I wasn't near, and kept asking for more. I can't blame her, they're delicious. Were you my server in New Hampshire like 10 years ago? I got so busted doing that. Haven't shown my face in an Olive Garden since. Also New Hampshire here, Manchester. My grandmother always stuffs her purse with bread. You guys know you can just ask for some to go, right? You usually get at least 5 or 6 to take. You ask for some to go on top of putting them in your purse. Maximize your take home. I went with a buddy 2 weeks ago with their pasta pass, and we could hardly finish 1 bowl each. But our waitress kept asking if we'd like more, wink wink. So we got another helping of pasta straight into a to-go box. And then she basically said, "You're my only table right now, so if you guys want more food, just keep ordering and I'll bring you more." We took home 3 bags full of Olive Garden and only stopped because we didn't want her to get into trouble. Needless to say, she got a nice tip because we were meal prepped for the week. The Wendy's in the town I grew up in would do this if you went through the drive-thru at 12:50. Closed at 1 a.m. Basically, anything left over they'd have to throw out would end up in your bag. I'd buy like 1 thing off the dollar menu and get a damn feast. I missed that place, and being at a point in my life where a meal at 1 a.m. was reasonable. A friend of mine worked at Wendy's back in college. He would show up at our apartment with 3 or 4 bags of food every few days. He'd cook it right around 12:30 a.m. and then leave work and show up. We were all so high when he came over, it was like he was sent from burger heaven. It was 11:45 p.m. and we'd closed at 11 p.m. They showed up at 10:55 and complained they felt rushed. Meal was comped and they left no tip. I hated serving. Another story I just remembered, we had a guy who had a pasta pass, pay $100 and get all the pasta you could ever want in a month, and would come in and eat and then proceed to either wait until he had to poop or made himself spew to make room for more pasta. He usually came alone with the same crusty outfit and would tell everyone how much money he's saving by coming every day and eating pasta. Oh, I've got plenty more. For example, I had a family who we call the Alfredo family. Literally the worst people I've ever met. Came once a week and complained about literally everything. Kids would run around the entire restaurant and steal tips from other tables that were left out. They got the charming nickname because no matter how much Alfredo sauce you put on their pasta, it was never enough. I'm talking 10 to 15 scoops worth of sauce each. They literally used every excuse to get comped food and gift cards. The drink was either too flat or the food too dry. We were the worst Olive Garden ever apparently, which made no sense since they came once a week. They must have gotten thousands of dollars in comps and free gift cards. It was terrible. They even tried to lure out one of the managers to the parking lot to assault her because she was seriously over their crap. Guess what they got for pulling that stunt? A $200 gift card. My girlfriend says only a manager can cut someone off from the unlimited food deals, and the only time that they cut someone off was during the unlimited pasta event. He ate so much he couldn't eat anymore, but he refused to leave because he wanted to wait until he could eat more. There was a place called It's with a buffet, movie room, cartoon room, sports bar room, and arcade. It had $2 Tuesdays, $2 buffet. Many people would come for lunch, watch movies until dinner, and eat again. I don't work at Olive Garden, I'm just going to share a story that happened there last week. It was my birthday on the 22nd, and a friend wanted to take me because she had a gift card. She said I could have it, but I asked her to go with me to use it. There's only one Olive Garden in town, and it's always a madhouse, but we went anyways because of the gift card. Got there, waited maybe 20 minutes for a table, and all was going well. We'd just put in a drink order, and we looked over the menu when suddenly, bam, power went out. Floodlights immediately kicked in, so it wasn't dark. So we waited, hadn't even received our drinks yet. The waiter brings us waters. Soda couldn't be bought because something about the machine not working with the power out. No big deal. We're asked to see what the situation is, but we can leave if we'd like. Most people stay hoping for it to come back on, us included. 5-minute pass and the waiter brings out breadsticks and salad, so we're happy to snack while we wait. 10 minutes later, we're told someone ran their car into the transformer so power wouldn't be coming back on. Good news was all soups, salads and breadsticks had to be given out because they couldn't stay out, and it was all free. Our waiter even managed to snag a cheesecake slice for me because it was my birthday, which was also free. He received a large tip that night. A 30% tip on a free meal. Reminds me of how my brother and I were craving Olive Garden, so we went to our local one, but the power was out. That's okay, we drove 5 miles to the next nearest one, got in the door, said one word to the hostess, and the power went out there too. So like good boys, we just found the next closest one. Boy, those breadsticks taste so much better when you have to fight nature for them. Not Olive Garden, but similar. My skinny as frick uncle once got the all-you-can-eat shrimp at Sizzler, and was eventually told he couldn't have any more. The man had easily eaten over 100 shrimp. It was pretty funny. Mrs. Simpson, what did you and your husband do after you were ejected from the restaurant? Oh, we pretty much went straight home. Mrs. Simpson, you're under oath. We drove around until 3 a.m. looking for another all-you-can-eat fish restaurant. And when you couldn't find one, we went fishing. Does that sound like a man who had all he could eat? I'm sorry, but that's all I could think of during that story. I'll admit that I was also thinking of this scene when I read the original story, and that last commenter is responsible for you all having to suffer through my Marge Simpson impression. There are more non-cartoon comments on the incident to follow. Your uncle was deceived. 300 shrimp is nothing. Former Red Lobster server here, the record for endless shrimp was 35 refills, roughly 10 shrimp per refill, plus the 30 shrimp in the original order. All scampi. 380 shrimp. The dude dipped them in water first to remove the scampi butter. It was disgusting. The water thing makes me think that he was maybe a competitive eater, probably training. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, but I worked at Olive Garden in South Carolina during my work and travel trip. It was my first time in the US, and the whole experience was great, but also often awkward. It was weird from the start. People who hired me were very surprised with me showing them an actual work permit. Oh yeah, we totally needed that. There wasn't many foreigners in that part of South Carolina, so the manager decided that it would work great if I pretend to be Italian to make their authentic Italian dining experience even more authentic. I really needed that job, so I rolled with it, welcoming guests with my Eastern European/fake Italian accent, and people loved it.
Oh, I love your accent. It's from northern Italy, right?
Yeah, about 2,000 miles northeast of Rome, mate. South Carolinians were some of the kindest and nicest people I ever met, although often confused with geography.
I'm actually from Poland,
I admitted to the great older guy. Poland? Ha! My father liberated Amsterdam. I got great tips, but this one time, one family liked me so much that the father went back to his house and came back with actual Polish bills. He left me 1,000 Polish zlotys and patted my shoulder as he was leaving. Good luck, kid. He had no way of knowing that the bills he left were communist currency with present total value of precisely 3 cents. Anyway, the worst kind of clients were the ones who just wanted soup and salad and unlimited breadsticks. I'm not sure how it works now, but when this was all unlimited, you had to run around refilling everything, knowing that 3 hours of this will bring you a $2 tip. Hey, it's 20%. 40-year-old ladies were the worst. I preferred a table of cartel members who spoke no English than a group of 4 ladies, with at least one named Karen. Still, super salad people were nothing in comparison to yearly Olive Garden Armageddon, which was the unlimited pasta bowl deal. It was something like $9.99 per bowl with unlimited refills of pasta, sauces, meatballs, and sausage. I had one guy who ate 13 bowls. That's almost 4 kilos of pasta. Still, the only time you could cut somebody off those refills was when they hoarded them in hidden boxes. And that happened a lot. I had a guy who was ordering breadsticks refills every 4 minutes and putting them in his backpack. He said it was for his hiking trip. Stoners often got stuck on eating breadsticks, and once their main meals arrived, they realized they're about to explode and politely asked for boxes. Not Olive Garden, but I got cut off from Denny's unlimited pancakes after 10 flapjacks. I was less than 120 pounds at the time. The cook was surprised when he came out to cut me off. Are you talking 10 pancakes or 10 plates? Right, like 10 pancakes is doable, I'd feel ill, but I could get it in there. It's not an absolutely insane amount.
Oh, that depends on what kind of pancake. After 10 Dutch pancakes, I would just keel over and die.
My brother once said he had over 30 pancakes at IHOP during their unlimited pancakes. He said after 25 it hurt, but he wanted to get to 30, so he pushed on. I'm still sad I wasn't there to see it. The manager told me I'd reached my limit in unlimited pasta bowls. Apparently unlimited means 9 pasta bowls.
Wow, the most I've seen was 6.
I wasn't serving the guy, but I did run a lot of the bowls. He didn't even finish many, it just seemed like he wanted to do a sampler of all the classics. If you get the most expensive one, we let you get refills of the cheaper ones if you want. I mentioned the guy to our manager that night, and all she said was, "Good for him, getting his money's worth." I worked at Old Country Buffet in the early 90s. We never cut anyone off, but here are a few things I recall. Elderly couples coming in for breakfast and staying all day. They were usually nice, so we didn't mind. Eventually, the restaurant made you pay again if you stayed after breakfast or lunch. One person dumped the entire pan of shrimp onto their plate. Whole plates of fried chicken piled high, just vanishing into thin air, not even bones remaining. Ziploc bags are a wonderful thing. Whole other plates of fried chicken piled high, left sitting to be thrown away with not one bite taken. The strawberry shortcake bar never failed to have people vomiting. No, you shouldn't put that much whipped cream inside of you. My favorite story involved a woman pulling a manager aside and saying, "I don't want to cause a scene, but I found this fishhook in the seafood salad." And the manager replying, "I don't want to cause a scene either, but there ain't nothing in that seafood salad that was caught with a hook." Yum yum. I mean, if it's that cheap, it has to be both non-hazardous and ethically caught, right? Honestly, there is probably a certain price bracket below which complaining is meaningless.
I'm always afraid they're going to kick me out for eating too much, 3 or 4 baskets of breadsticks maybe. On the soup note, anyone else ever wonder how far you can push the "say when" on cheese grating?
Sometimes I have guests who are embarrassed or feign embarrassment about the amount of cheese they like. I always say the same thing. Every moment I grate cheese is a moment I'm not carrying a 30-plus pound tray of food or dirty dishes. This isn't a workout for me, it's a rest break. You say when you're good and ready, lady. I've gone through an entire block before, plus some. I'll go back and get more if you really want me to. Also, my arm never hurts. I do this 40 hours a week. You think your one bowl of soup with more than average cheese is going to make my arm hurt? I worked at Olive Garden for 4 years. It's a chain, so you never cut people off, but good lord, I dished out some soup, salad, bread, and pasta. I had an obese 25-ish male regular who had Asperger's and came in with his enabling mother every week. Always the worst tip of the week, but they always requested me. It was the same thing every week for the guy: a tour of Italy, lasagna, chick parm and fat alfredo, and 4 bowls of pasta fagioli with a block of grated cheese in each bowl. Not to mention the 2 blocks on the tour of Italy. The mother would just smile the whole time and call me sweetie as her son gorged himself to death. Those 4 years there were hell. Plenty more stories of a similar nature. Worked TGI Fridays for endless apps. Watched a guy eat 12 orders of pot stickers. That's 72 pot stickers. He also drank 14 refills of Diet Coke with no ice. That's 308 ounces of Diet Coke. This all happened in about 90 minutes. Then he asked for the dessert menu. I was both disgusted and impressed. Only got to cut one person off because her B-word butt decided to complain long enough about the zuppa to get her whole meal comped. Choked down a bowl of gnocchi and then tried to eat more zuppa. Then she had the audacity to ask me to take a bowl home. Big ol' nope. Was tipped with a Jesus pamphlet. When I was a teenager, my uncle was a youth pastor and invited me to an event. After, we went to a local Friendlies, 15 people in total. He left a business card for his church as his tip. I was so teed off. My mum had given me a 20 for food, so before I left I stopped my waiter and handed it to him. I went in there a lot and he was a nice guy and a good waiter, and it was all I had. I would have left more if I could, and I told him that, and what he could expect to find on the table. He thanked me. I was like 15 and knew better than to not tip, especially for a large party. Being Christian means helping others, and that includes tipping your waitstaff. Worked in various Olive Gardens off and on over the course of a decade, ranging from Houston to Boston. Even was a trainer for a bit before deciding to go to law school. Never had to cut someone off for unlimited breadsticks or salad. Never had to cut someone off for unlimited pasta bowls. A guy I served at the Olive Garden in Greenville, South Carolina, ate his original bowl plus 15 refills. He was determined to eat each one of the pasta and sauce combinations. He kept me wildly busy, running pasta and bread out to him all evening. His 2 friends had to help him walk out of the restaurant. At the time, a big bowl of pasta was 8 ounces and the refills were 4 ounces. He ate 4.25 pounds of pasta, plus a lot of sauce, and had the meat add-on many of them. I'm guessing he cleared out more than 6 pounds of food over the course of that meal. He tipped $4. On the other hand, I've been in a restaurant where we've run out of breadsticks. Normally, we were pretty free with the breadsticks. You have a set amount you're supposed to bring out, number of guests at a table plus 1, but a lot of the servers just load up their tables at the beginning to minimize the amount of running they have to do. On the handful of days where we ran out, the managers were watching breadstick load up like hawks. We couldn't eat any of them ourselves either. Normally, it's the one thing you can eat while on shift. Anyway, people absolutely lose their crap if they show up and find out we don't have breadsticks. The hosts were warning everyone who came through the door, and people were still mad. Folks would yell at them, then leave. The few who stayed were nice, but kept talking about how it didn't feel like an Olive Garden meal without the breadsticks. The worst were the tables that were already seated when we ran out. I had one who kept asking me why I was being so stingy, and when I explained why I'd only bought out enough for each person instead of a huge load-up, like she'd asked for, she screamed for the manager. The manager explained that she had, in fact, gotten the last basket of breadsticks in the restaurant. The lady looked apoplectic. How the frick does an Olive Garden run out of breadsticks? Honestly, I feel you, lady, but it was 2 days after Mother's Day and the truck was due in 3 hours. The manager's orders had fallen short by less than 0.5%. This lady demanded that everything be comped. While my managers were normally the kind who would do this immediately, this one refused. Either way, I got $0 on that table, and most of the other tables were similarly cranky and low tipping. Yeah, that's an everybody loses hospitality situation if I've ever heard one. Also, I've said this before in another restaurant stories video, but screw working Mother's Day. Not worth it. When we were in high school, a bunch of friends went to an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. After gorging on many plates, one of my friends who was legendary for his eating prowess went for dessert. He took a whole banana cream pie. A manager came over and berated him for being wasteful. There were some vague threats of making him pay extra if he didn't finish the pie. The friend proceeded to eat the whole pie. The manager told him to never come back. My mum got kicked out of an all-you-can-eat sushi place once. She was pretty mad. The manager somehow didn't think a small Filipino from Hawaii could eat that much. He's obviously never met anyone remotely Filipino. This would be a fun prank to play on an Olive Garden if you were triplets. Just sneak in one at a time and keep ordering a crap ton of salad and breadsticks.
The guy just put away baskets and baskets. I don't understand.
When I was a flight attendant, I used to hate serving first class because the people were grumpy. On the night flights, we didn't have great food in first class because most people were sleeping and the food is expensive, etc. One night, I only had one gentleman awake in the first class section and he wanted the meal. Turns out the meal that night was just some sad pesto pasta and a soft breadstick, which I served to him. The man grumpily goes, "What is this, Olive Garden?" And without thinking, I said in a weird Italian accent, "When you're here, your family." And he just looked at me and sort of smirked. Still one of my proudest moments. Sort of related, this customer came in and asked my coworker, who was new at the time, if they could have a box of chocolates, like the 15-pound box that we get off the truck. I was in the kitchen and saw her walking out with the box. I asked her what she was doing and she said she was giving the customer what they asked for. I quickly took that box and told them both no. It's crazy what some people have the nerve to ask for. My buddy and I went to Olive Garden damn near 30 years ago. We're looking up at the menu trying to figure out what we're going to order and the waitress walks up. "Welcome to Olive Garden, blah blah blah." I forget the spiel. "With your entree you can get unlimited salad or soup," or something to that effect. "Oh, what kind of soup do you have?" my buddy inquires. "Well, you can get either the soup or the salad," she clarifies. "I understand, but what kind of soup do you have?" he asks again. "Entries come with either soup or salad," she asserts a little testily. My buddy kind of glances over at me like, "Am I having a stroke?" I look up at the waitress and confidently ask, "Okay, so what kind of soup do you have?" "You can get minestrone or our daily special is the potato cream soup." "I'll just have the salad, thanks," I say as my buddy facepalms and starts giggling. Even 30 years later, anytime I see him, I always ask, "What kind of soup do you have?" When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.